in with these DEA badges, and they act like they know what they're doing, and so they cuff them, and then they take all their stuff and then run away. Like, oh, that's actually pretty funny. Except at one point, they end up going to a house out in the country that is already under the investigation of the feds and
Which they don't realize.
and being infiltrated already. The feds have deeply ingrained themselves in this situation, and it becomes a nightmare. People are killed all over the place, and these two idiots managed to get away, and now some really, really bad people, including not the bad people, the feds also want him.
Everyone's after them.
They're getting chased, and the thing amazing about it, his stepmom's played by Kate Mulgrew, which I didn't even recognize for the first episode. I'm like, oh, that's Janeway. And then Ving Rhames is his dad,
who's in jail,
and you definitely know who he is. I mean, there's no disguising him. It's funny, and then it gets dark, and then it has a kind of a cool resolution. So
now I've only seen 3 of the episodes, and I think there's
8.
Oh, there's 8. Okay, then I haven't quite seen half.
There are 8, and it's Apple TV Plus, so you know it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. I liked it. I don't know if I'll finish it just because of time, but I liked it enough to try to get in as many as possible before the movie show instead of just giving up after one or two.
It does feel like it kind of tries to stretch out the material in the middle of the movie. Might be why you didn't want to finish the series.
That's possible.
Because it kind of gets into
weeds. When it's funny, it's funny.
Oh, yeah. He's hilarious. I love this guy.
So that is Dope Thief, rated TVMA on Apple TV+.
Right.
Well, you've got 15 minutes left to take advantage of Sound Sleep's deal that they have for Movie Show and KSL listeners today of a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by calling 801-716-8672. Melissa, what should we tell people? Why do people not want to get their sleep, find out that they have sleep apnea or get it corrected? Or what are some roadblocks that we can maybe knock down?
Well, I would say roadblock number 1 is I don't want to test. It's overnight somewhere. I'm going to be in a strange place with people watching me. It's super expensive. And roadblock number 2 would be I don't want a CPAP. I know if I have it, I'm going to have to wear this mask on my face. It's going to be really inconvenient, and I know I just won't be able to handle it. And
the other thing is we've just gotten used to being tired all the time.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm not sleepy.
Or I've got people who are either single or they're not sleeping in the same room with their partner, and they're like, who cares if I snore? I'm not bugging anybody. But we can fix all of this. Number 1, it's a test at home in your own bed, and today it's going to be free. Number 2, you don't have to use the machine. It's an oral appliance, so it's really easy to use. It's like a custom-made mouth guard. You won't be locked together. You can still talk and drink water. Perfect size, perfect fit for you. And if you are snoring a lot and you feel like you're not bothering anybody because you're alone in the room, well, guess what? You're hurting yourself. Even if no one else is being bothered by your snoring,
right.
Your snoring is likely a red flag that you've got apnea, which means your oxygen is too low during the night. And if you have that and you're just letting it go, ignoring it, it's going to catch up to you as you get older. And I think we all want to age well. None of us want to end up with a stroke or dementia, as we get older.
Right.
And besides, you'll just feel better now. You'll sleep better. You'll have energy when you wake up. Things like anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, high blood sugar levels, that can all be reduced if you fix your sleep apnea.
Let me tell you, it took me one night to get used to it. One night. First night I was like, this is different, because it is different. But after the first night I was like, oh man, this is simple. And it allowed me to actually sleep in any position I wanted. With the CPAP mask, I had to twist it this way, and you had to remember in the middle of the night, I actually had to wake up in order to turn over. It was so nice.
My brother put Band-Aids over his mouth so he wouldn't.
That's
driving his wife nuts.
Not the safest way to treat your sleep apnea, but it's simple. And the great thing is you can find out, first of all, if you even have it. And even if you do have a CPAP machine, you come in, your doctor will require you to take a sleep test every so often anyway. I actually had you guys do it because I got tired of waiting for them to give me a chance to take the test. And then they said, oh, yeah, just send the results over. It's that simple.
And if you do well on your CPAP, you don't have to give it up. You don't have to, go away from it completely. I have a lot of people that do well on their CPAP, so they use it at home. But when they camp or they travel, they take the oral appliance. So
Simple as that. 801-716-8672 to get that free sleep screening and sleep consultation. And if you call in the next 10 minutes, we've got more, Melissa.
we've got more. You'll get the free stuff, but we'll also enter you into a drawing for our Better Sleep gift basket, which includes a purple pillow, Minky blanket, and a $50 Amazon gift card. And if by any chance you have trouble getting through on the phones, you can find us at soundsleepmedical.com and schedule that way.
Sound Sleep has 6 locations in Utah: Clearfield, Murray, Sandy, where we are, American Fork, Provo, and St. George. Melissa, thanks for having the movie show at Sound Sleep. It's so good to talk to you.
Thanks for having us.
801-716-8672.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event
You might as well call it A to free.
at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Rebates and tax incentives sound great, but they can be a little bit of a headache when it comes time to claim them. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and we try and make it as easy as possible for you to claim those rebates. We even have a rebate support specialist on our team to answer your questions and help you get every dollar your new furnace and air conditioner qualify for. You might not realize it, but right now, local utilities are offering over $2,400 in rebates, and there's another $3,200 available in federal tax incentives. That's over $5,600 in additional savings for qualifying heating and cooling upgrades. When you couple those rebates and incentives with Any Hour Services free furnace sale that's going on right now, I mean, even if you've just been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner, it makes a lot of sense to schedule a free estimate and learn more. One of our HVAC supervisors can come to your home and explain everything. Call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule a free estimate online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Welcome to Staples.
I hear Staples prints it all for any business.
You bet, and we'll beat any print quote.
So if I had a pizza place...
Staples can print signs, menus, pizza boxes.
A landscaping business?
Oh, we can print yard signs, t-shirts, brochures.
How about a pizza/landscaping business? I'll call it Dough and Mo.
I like it.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5, exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
It's the world-famous KSL Movie Show on KSL News Radio.
Final segment. We've got a few things that made it to theaters and streaming that in all of our free time we didn't manage to get around
so
to
much
watching. One that you did see an episode of was called Long Bright River on Peacock.
Yes, this was with Amanda Seyfried. She's a police officer.
Amanda Seyfried?
Well, I think it's Seyfried, but okay.
Is it? Well, I've been saying it wrong all these times. Anyway, I know who
she's
she
in
is.
it, and she's a police officer in an area that she grew up in. Her sister is on, I think what they're referring to, the Long Bright River, is the Avenue, which is a stretch of road in Philly that a lot of people, the homeless and sex workers, end up kind of working. That's her area, and she's trying to protect these girls. And her sister is actually on the street as well and goes missing. So I've seen the first episode. It looks promising.
Also in theaters this week was a movie called Opus that stars Iowa Debris, John Malkovich, Juliette Lewis, Tony Hale, a decent Amber Midthunder. That's her other movie that she was in.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to see it. It's a horror movie, right?
Well, it's about a guy who's used to be a singer, like huge singer, and he's inviting people to a retreat. He's got a new album, but apparently what's going on at this place is not what you think it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and John Malkovich is the leader, so. Yeah.
And we don't know what's going on at this place because we didn't get a chance to see it. But that's called Opus.
And one other thing, a lot of people, actually I got calls this week saying, where is American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden documentary that was supposed to be on Netflix? I got a note from them, and they said, sorry, we had a scheduling shift, and we will circle back and let you know when we have a new release date. So for those of you who keep seeing coming soon when it should have opened on March 10th,
That's why.
It's coming.
They have changed the release date but have not told us what it is. Now, neither you or I have seen any of the first 2 seasons of The Wheel of Time on Prime Video, but Season 3 just debuted, I believe, yesterday.
Right.
And that is a big one. I have several friends who'd read the books and actually had been enjoying the series. So Season 3 of The Wheel of Time on Prime Video is now available. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Beach Party. That's a movie on Paramount Plus, yes?
Yeah, it's Cameron Crowe, his first movie, and you know how he loves bands.
Wait, is a documentary was his first movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he loves bands. He did this movie a long time ago. This is kind of a restored print of it, and it's on Paramount Plus.
And then there's a movie on Hulu called Control Freak.
Yeah, this is some chick with spiders coming out of her ears, and I'm like,
okay,
I'm out.
No need to see that for us. Okay, so a horror movie called Control Freak over on Hulu. Now, really quickly, to recap, our big movie of the week was Novocaine, which I liked more than I thought I was going to and more than I should have, but it was so gory.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yeah, when you can't feel pain, but I felt all the pain. I was cringing almost throughout the movie. It is funny, and I laughed, but I felt guilty for doing so.
I had to look away from the screen because it got a little too much even for me. Although I can't say I have like the highest tolerance for that, but it was too much for me. But I hate that I liked it. So Novocaine, that's our big movie of the week. We've also got Black Bag, which was my favorite thing that I watched this week. Michael Fassbender, Cate Blanchett. I gave that an A- and say absolutely go see that.
And I think my favorite movie this week was The Electric State. I thought that they did a great job with all the robots and all that. I know it looked a little derivative, but I thought they had fun with it, and I enjoyed going on the ride with them.
I didn't dislike it. I just felt like I should have liked it more, and I don't know if I could tell you exactly what it's missing, but it mashed up too many things and just didn't bring enough of its own thing. Maybe that's what it is.
And I also liked
That's on Netflix, by the way, The Electric State.
I liked the Rust documentary. I thought they did a really good job of telling a very difficult story.
And I also saw the animated movie The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, which I wanted to like. It was all right. I think it was B- for me, maybe C+. But little kids will enjoy it. Adults, maybe if you're a longtime Looney Tunes fan, I don't know if I see you liking it as much.
I saw a trailer where the duck got blown up.
Yeah, but that's the cartoon trope. He's not.
He was all
you were
jacked
disappointed. Oh no, because they've never recovered from that in a cartoon.
Well, no, they blow their bills off or something. But this one's like, dang, that's
yeah. And then like one scene later, all of his feathers are back, and he's back to normal.
Peking duck for a moment there.
And then I also saw the movie The Last Supper, which was made in part by Grand Canyon University, and a Christian music star is actually one of the executive producers on this movie. I thought it was really sincerely well done. It focuses on the last week of Jesus' life, but seen through the eyes of the disciples. Principally, you follow Peter and Judas and how each of them reacts to the same things that they're seeing, but they react very differently.
They definitely go in opposite directions.
They definitely do. We also have the movie... Let's see, Last Take. Oh, that's the one you talked about. That was the Helena
The Parenting
Hutchins.
is the other one that people are going to want to see, but they're going to get halfway through it and like, ew, this is kind of weird.
I liked the series Adolescence on Netflix. It's kind of a hard watch, but it's worth it. It's British, and it's 3 episodes on Netflix.
I ended up binging The Dope Thief because I like Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the reasons to watch that. But that one's pretty violent, too. So not a ton of family stuff. Probably the best ones for families is going to be The Day the Earth Blew Up or The Last Supper. You'd be okay watching The Electric State. There wasn't anything other than, I don't know, maybe a little heavy for like an 8-year-old to watch.
They blew the hat off of Mr. Peanut? Come on.
Hey, that could be traumatic for kids.
My favorite character is Popfly, the old man, Brian Cox playing the baseball guy with his baseball bat. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So shut up. I liked it.
Thanks for listening to the movie show. We'll get you next week.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
1 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour. BYU is gearing up for a rematch with Houston tonight with a spot in the Big 12 Conference Tournament Championship game on the line. The last time the two teams met in January, Houston cruised to a 31-point win. BYU head coach Kevin Young says,
"We played them super early on. They were our first Big 12 road game, and they smacked us. And so, we've grown a lot since then."
Today, the Cougars enter the game on a 9-game winning streak. If they can upset the second-ranked team in the nation, they'll play either Arizona or Texas Tech for the tournament championship tomorrow. Tip-off today is at 5, and pregame starts at 4 right here on KSL News Radio. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Trump administration is ramping up pressure on Hamas to accept an offer to bridge the current fragile ceasefire through the end of Ramadan and Passover.
The White House responds to what it calls Hamas's impractical demands with a sharply worded statement issued in the name of presidential envoy Steve Witkoff and the National Security Council. Hamas is making a very bad bet that time is on its side. It is not, the statement reads, warning that the U.S. will respond accordingly if Hamas doesn't agree to bridge the ceasefire past Ramadan and Passover. The White House says Hamas must soon free more of the living hostages and immediately release dual U.S.-Israeli citizen Idan Alexander.
That's ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 605 points, the S&P up 102, and the NASDAQ up 399. Coming up, a cooler start to your weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 101.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I'm Rod with the Save Right team at Realty Path. I also own Save Right Mortgage. When building this new and disruptive business model, my attorney said, quote, "You'll rock the boat and make your competitors mad. There's no way they can compete with the value Save Right offers home buyers." She's right. Other real estate agents and mortgage lenders can't compete with Save Right. However, Utah home buyers love Save Right. Save Right home buyers get bankbuster loans with below market interest rates. Save Right clients buy bigger, nicer homes. Their monthly payments are hundreds less. Bankbuster loans save home buyers hundreds of thousands in interest. Start with a rate in the twos. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com. Start with a rate in the twos. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
It's hard to believe, but summer's right around the corner. Make sure your home stays cool with a brand new air conditioner and get a free furnace for next winter. That's right. When you purchase a premium air conditioner or heat pump from Whipple Service Champions, you'll get a brand new furnace absolutely free. You just pay for the labor to install. This deal won't last long. Schedule your free estimate today. Book online at whipplethataway.com. whipplethataway.com.
Hi, this is Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. We all know distant federal agencies don't always work for everyday Utahns, but I do. So if you need assistance taking on the IRS, navigating Social Security claims, or getting answers from any agency, please call my office or visit us online at malloy.house.gov. As your Congresswoman, I'll help you get through the red tape and get the answers you need from the federal government. I'm Celeste Malloy, and it's an honor to be your voice in Washington and to fight for your Utah families.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives. Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
What if your business could see beyond what is and into what can be?
What if you could create more impact in every decision? What if you had a partner as visionary as you are? With Bank of America, you get access to our trusted experts, real-time insights, and digital tools. So whether you run a local shop or a global enterprise, you're backed by business solutions to make every move matter. What would you like the power to do? Find out how at bankofamerica.com/banking for business. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Jared Auger.
Traffic moving at a good pace on 84 between Snowville and the rejoin down there in Brigham City. No problems as you go from North Ogden all the way down into Woods Cross and Salt Lake City. Here, the I-15 and I-215's east and west belt all moving along at a good clip. No problems on I-80 as you go through Parley's Canyon. Utah County drivers also going to look at good speeds. No crashes, no delays as you go from the point of the mountain all the way down to Santaquin. I'm Jared Auger in the KSL Traffic Center.
Scattered snow showers and a high of 44 today. Tomorrow we could see more snow in the early morning hours, and later the high will get to 46. Then on Sunday, just clouds as the high spikes to 59. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 37 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Government shutdown watch. Will Senate Democrats join Republicans in passing the latest continuing resolution? It looks like it, especially following remarks from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. But right now, we're still waiting for the vote. In fact, it looks like that vote may happen during the show today. I'm your host this afternoon, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Aaron Ryder. Welcome to Inside Sources. And Aaron, continuing resolution, government shutdown. We've seen this movie before, haven't we?
We sure have. I think we see this movie every few months, actually.
Yeah, but the continuing resolution would, if passed, at least get us through September 30th, so we don't have to deal with it in 30, 60, or 90 days. I mean, what's that? That's, 6 months away. That's something good. The Democrats, well, for one thing, in terms of the Senate, I think they need 60 votes. So you're going to have, they said 7 Democrats, but 1 Republican, I think it was Rand Paul, said he wasn't going to vote for it. So now they need 8 Democrats. And like I say, Chuck Schumer has said that he's on board. He's facing some outrage from a lot of his Democratic compatriots. We'll see where that goes. But I mean, the alternative, Aaron, isn't very good either. And it's not going to look good for the Democrats if the government shuts down.
Well, I guess that's my question for you, Greg. Do you think that Chuck Schumer caved? Because he came out initially and said, we're not doing this. Republicans, you're on your own. Figure it out yourselves. And it was like 2 hours later, he was changing his tune. Do you think he caved? I mean, like, why go through all the hassle of posturing that you're not going to support Republicans, only to then turn around and support Republicans?
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like there were a lot of closed door meetings, and there was some yelling, and we heard there was some things going on in these meetings. And I think this is a lose-lose for the Democrats. They cannot afford to be the reason for a government shutdown. Right now, people are looking at the Republican Party. They're looking at the Trump administration. I think it's teetering on, convincing the people that we're in some level of chaos right now, and people are not very happy about that. But shutting down the government shifts all the blame back to the Democrats. So I don't think they have a choice. And I know that the problem is that they're basically conceding to a Republican agenda. But boy, I mean, Republican agenda versus government shutdown, it seems to me a fairly easy, and maybe not. We'll see. The vote may happen during the show today. But I mean, I think the Democrats have to prevent the government shutdown.
I just think, why go through the posturing of this? I mean, let's take a quick second and listen to a clip from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor last night.
For sure, the Republican bill is a terrible option. It is not a clean CR. It is deeply partisan. It doesn't address far too many of this country's needs. But I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
See, here's the thing, right? If his motivation for this, I remember when I was running for office, one of the things I was told repeatedly is if you have to explain where you're coming from and why you're doing something, you've lost at least the argument, because people don't care about nuance, right? Nuance often just doesn't matter.
Right.
And what Chuck Schumer is saying now, he's saying, quote, while the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. A shutdown would give Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Doge the keys to the city, the state, and the country, end quote. So if that's his concern, then first of all, going into that kind of nuance, nobody cares. And so you look like you've just flip-flopped on your standpoint. Just come out from the beginning and say, we are the party of the people. We are going to keep the government open because this is jobs, this matters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we are not going to let this country fail, even though Republicans can't get their act together, blah, 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 right?
But it also seems like maybe there is some benefit, and I don't think that it occurred in this case, Aaron, of the Democrats holding back and thinking, give us something, show us, throw us a bone here, and we'll jump on your ship. And as we got closer and closer and closer, the Republicans didn't seem to want to play ball because
of course not. Why would they?
Right, because they had the Democrats in a bad position, saying, "Okay, the government shutdown, it's on you at this point," and the Democrats had to own that. But I understand what you're saying. I also think Schumer is trying to save face, obviously, with the Democrats by saying a shutdown gives Trump and Musk and Doge the country, the keys to the city, the state, and the country. So I'm doing this to thwart President Trump, which is.
But does anybody actually?
No.
Yeah.
That's silliness. But he's got to do something because he's flip flopped. And coming from the minority leader Chuck Schumer, that's got to carry. I mean, he's probably he is the most powerful Democrat in the Senate. So for him to come on board, you would think he's going to get at least 7 other Democrats to sign up.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how those other Democrats are viewing this. And what we're seeing, actually, there's some interesting dynamics now where members of the House Democratic Caucus are now passing around, I think, there was like a petition or something showing that they have no confidence in Schumer. I even saw something that donors are trying to convince AOC to primary him, when he comes over. Like, people are mad about this. Democrats are mad about this. And it's a leverage thing. If you know that you have no negotiation leverage in this instance, if you know that you're not going to be able to force the Republicans into anything, then you just look dumb. You just look kind of stupid. You get egg on your face if you do the flip-flop like this. Now, if they did have some leverage, because Republicans need to get to the 60 votes, and they can't do it without Democrats. And so Schumer could have, if he had been able to bring his entire caucus together and say, we are not giving you a single Democratic vote unless and until blah, 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 and we are willing to shut down the government for it. Like, you could go that route, but I think
he did. I think he did play chicken with that. Right. Yeah, I agree.
Tried. But I wonder if members of the Democratic caucus were just like, no, I don't want to shut down the government, end of story, and they weren't willing to play chicken with it.
And so for him to do this, and I'll ask you this, Aaron, for him to say this, he must feel like he's got the other 7 votes. I mean, Schumer's not going to come out and say, I'm on board, and then still have it lose, because he's really lost everything.
That's true.
So, I mean, and they must have played rock, paper, scissors to find the other 7 Democrats that are going to show up.
Well, they were probably the people that caused him to flip his opinion in the first place.
Yeah, and maybe some that are not going to run again, or that maybe are in some states where they're sort of primarily red states and they need to curry some favor. But he must think he's got the votes. It'll be interesting. I mean, we've got a couple of hours left on this program. I think we're going to know the answer to this question before we're done today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be interesting if we could. I mean, because I think the government shutdown would be at midnight tonight, 12:01.
Yes. So they have to vote on it today.
Yeah, and we it seems like, and this is how we started the conversation, Aaron. We have this conversation about government shutdown all the time, and continuing resolution. I think a lot of people don't really understand what that means, but it's sort of we'll keep the government going for a while.
Yeah, nothing changes. You just keep it going.
Right. Without really deciding one way or the other, but we're going to at least keep our head above water. I mean, I'll be glad when this is over. My guess is with Schumer coming on board, and that the Democrats will line up, or at least he'll get his 7 votes. And I think that if you're a Democrat and you're in the Senate and you know that you've got the 7, then you can vote against it. And I mean, you're going to kind of wait and see who's lined up to vote for it. But my guess is that they'll get that.
Yeah. Well, I think they probably already know exactly who's going to vote and, how they're going to vote. I think we are expecting both of Utah's senators to vote in favor of this.
Sure. They both said they would.
Yeah.
Lee and Curtis have both said that they would. Next up on Inside Sources, is the relationship between the Department of Justice and the White House changing? We're actually, Aaron, we may see some information about that as well, because Trump is over at the DOJ right now, apparently going to give a speech. We may break away to that, but we're going to talk about what his goals are with the department right after this break.
With 415,000 Utahns and 1 in 6 Utah kids facing hunger, Utah Food Bank, Macy's Grocery, Lee's Marketplace, and Lynn's need your help to fight hunger statewide. Simply fill a bag with non-perishable food donations and put it at your doorstep by 9 a.m. on Saturday, March 15th to support the Feed Utah food drive. Donations will be picked up by volunteers and can be the difference between hunger and hope. Learn more about how you can be a part of the statewide effort at utahfoodbank.org/feedutah.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event.
You might as well call it A to free.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. $149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
This may sound like a finely tuned engine, but it's not. This may sound like a car commercial, but it's not. This is a message about kidney failure. Your kidneys are a lot like the filters in this car's engine. They're working to filter toxins, chemicals, and waste out of your body so you can stay in top condition. Unfortunately, things don't always work out the way they should. 1 in 3 Americans are at risk for kidney disease. 37% of Americans suffer some form of kidney disease, from high blood pressure and diabetes. The Kidney Foundation needs your help to drive down the rate of kidney failure. Please donate your used car or truck to the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho at towcars.org. Towing is free. Your car can be picked up in 12 to 48 hours, and your donation is tax deductible. Keep your donation local by donating your car to towcars.org. That's TOWKARS. Tow Cars with a K, like kidney. Again, that's towcars.org with a K, like kidney.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place?
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
Built with players no one else wanted.
We knew no one believed in us.
Reached the league's highest heights.
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
Russell has made a champion out of Real Salt Lake. How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival.
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
All right, Greg. Well, President Trump is visiting the Department of Justice today. We were just talking about this in our previous segment. This is a rare presidential visit to the Department of Justice. Usually presidents don't physically go to the DOJ. It's part of a tradition of maintaining distance between the White House and the Justice Department. The president's visit and speech today is heightening concerns that the DOJ will be weaponized by the president to go after people he considers enemies. But, we were talking about this before we started. There is a precedent for presidents not going to the Department of Justice, even though the Department of Justice falls under the president's authority, right, and jurisdiction.
Yeah, you think that Department of Justice is the judicial branch, but it's not. He assigns his attorney general, he assigns his deputy attorney general, he assigns staff, but I did think it was odd when you said just a minute ago, presidents don't usually physically go to the DOJ, and they kind of want some separation. I'm wondering if that's just for the optics of it.
I think so.
Because you have, our governor and attorney general, while they're both elected and right now they're from the same party, probably get along, but they do maintain some distance. And I think that as lawyers, you and I, we also, I think, appreciate that idea of separation, of confidentiality, of being involved in things that you don't necessarily want the president to have to deal with.
Well, and there's a little bit of objectivity there. You want the Department of Justice to be able to go after things because they're going after violations of the law, regardless of political affiliation, right? So you definitely want to see that. I also think too that the president will go up to the Hill, up to Capitol Hill, to talk with legislative leaders, but he needs legislative leaders to enact his policies. I don't know that the president really ever goes. Usually people go to the president, right? And so you see cabinet members who come to the president. But I don't know that the president really ever goes to any other agency, including the Department of Justice.
Yeah, and we think of the Department of Justice, and I know they do much, much more than criminal prosecution, but from the president's perspective, they're his law and order. They're his cops. They're the people that are making the country safe, and as long as they continue to do that and they do their job and people in place to make sure that continues. Of course, the DOJ does other things like bring actions against some maybe companies that get too big, and antitrust can bring actions against schools or groups that are not following other constitutional guidelines. So the DOJ gets involved in other things. And I think the concern with President Trump is that people might feel like he's going to do more than just stand by and watch the DOJ do its job, and that he might try to, I hate to use weaponize, but encourage them, have them do his bidding in ways that presidents in the past, for reasons you just said, staying away from it, make a lot of sense. The presidents haven't gotten involved and said, hey, make the country safe and don't get in trouble, and we'll keep you in business.
Yeah, and I think President Trump has been pretty open about the fact that he wants to remake the Department of Justice in his vision, and he's here. We're supposing he's here to talk about law and order, restoring law and order in the country. That's kind of the vibe that we're getting from this. And once he does start speaking, we'll probably shift to that and listen to a little bit, whether it's while we're talking right now or even a little bit later. So that's likely coming. But there is a part of me that thinks it's still an executive agency, and they're still there to help the president's agenda move forward. He has a big push on immigration. He has a big push on law and order and trying to restore that, whatever that looks like. Is it necessarily wrong that he is wanting to do this when it is an agency that falls under his purview? And yes, presidents past may not have really engaged in that same way, but I don't think that means that they can't, right?
Right. But think of this also. Think of this awkward moment. I think the biggest criminal case that the Department of Justice has handled in the last, maybe in my career, is the January 6 rioters. I mean, the Department of Justice put so much energy into that. And
they did.
They prosecuted and convicted something like 1,600 individuals because of what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And now the commander-in-chief, their boss, comes in on day one. Literally, one of his probably 2 or 3 first executive orders was pardoning every one of those people. So you've got these Department of Justice employees. They're prosecutors, a lot of them. Let's face it, they're our U.S. attorneys. They're handling criminal matters that are federal. And they worked so hard on that, and they got convictions, and some of them went to trial, some of them entered plea bargains. I mean, they went after these individuals, and they did so much work. You know, their agents, you know, going and finding the individuals and going through pictures and seeing who was involved in this and charging that, and largely that prosecution was successful. But now, if you're a DOJ prosecutor who's involved in the January 6th, you might feel like your legs were just cut out from under you.
Oh, no question, for sure. And, you know, I again, like, this is part of that turnover that happens every 4 years or every 8 years. You know you're getting somebody new that is going to come in there. It's part of working for the federal government. I mean, and this is not even just a Washington, D.C. thing. We have an office for the Department of Justice here in Salt Lake City. And so there are actually a number of attorneys here. I used to work in the same building with many of them. And there's a lot that happens here. It's actually a pretty decent office. So, you know, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yes, you would feel like your legs were cut out from under you if Trump came in and undid everything that you had just done.
And there's a couple other examples of that. I mean, he fired a dozen attorneys that had worked under Special Counsel Jack Smith. Now, the Department of Justice once in a while gets in a position where they're conflicted, and so they'll bring in special counsel. Mm-hmm. In this case, it was Jack Smith, and because they're under the executive branch, they don't want to be in a position where they've got this conflict of interest. They bring someone in, he files those charges. Those are now dismissed, and everyone that worked for him now been fired. They dismissed corruption charges, or he's had his Justice Department dismiss corruption charges against the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, last month. The DOJ did all this work to find a what they believe to be a corrupt politician and indict him for corruption in office. He's a Democrat. And, you know, and it happens under the Biden watch, so it wasn't like it was a political thing. And Trump, now that case is dismissed without prejudice, meaning he's still on the hook, which I think is what Trump wants him to be.
Well, because Trump's using it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is not what you do with the Justice Department. So those prosecutors are going, well, are we tools here? Are we we're just pawns to help you to get your immigration, you know, work done? Or and if the mayor doesn't do what Trump needs in terms of, you know, his immigration agenda as it relates to New York, do they rebring those charges? Now, he's got that indictment hanging over his head. The mayor does, and he will do whatever Trump tells him to do for the next 4 years.
Well, but let me ask you this question then, Greg. What should be the relationship of the president to the Department of Justice? If it's an agency that technically he has jurisdiction and responsibility for, but we also like having a separation. And to be clear, I think that, you know, some of Trump's officials have said that they still intend to maintain policies that limit contacts between White House officials and the Department of Justice. So it's not like we're completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. But what should that look like? Is the president completely hands-off and really shouldn't have any...
I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. So I obviously the president appoints the leadership in the Department of Justice. So he can appoint people that he feels have his same vision. And I suppose it's entirely appropriate for the president to say something like, and this is just a weird example, but boy, the opioid crisis is off the charts. We want you to devote more time and energy to deal with that because the public isn't happy with what's going on. And so, but I mean, just to give them input, just to give them an idea of what his agenda is, put people in there that he trusts so that he knows will follow that. But otherwise, when you're talking about law and order, just do your job. I mean, we don't assume the president's going to come in and tell the police what to do. Maybe he is. I mean, he points his...
Well, we're going to find out.
Right, he points his directors there too. But we have laws. we expect these agencies to enforce the laws, and the president largely just sits back and says, okay, as long as they're enforcing the laws, as long as the streets are safer than they were without this agency and they're earning their keep, let them go. And so I know I've talked in a circle a little bit here, but I really think standoffishness from the president to the Department of Justice makes more sense than getting too hands-on.
Well, we're going to find out exactly what President Trump is expecting to do soon here. So like I said, we may come back to this as we continue throughout the show once he starts to speak. But so until then, I guess. All right, when Inside Sources returns, we're going to stick with President Trump in other areas. We're going to talk about federal investigations from his administration against universities who have promoted DEI policies. More coming up next.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this hour. A Salt Lake police officer will not face criminal charges, even though the Salt Lake County District Attorney says he was not legally justified in a June shooting. Officer Mitchell Bailey shot a wanted unarmed man's hand as the man was hiding in a thick patch of tall grass. The district attorney says there was never any indication the victim was armed when the shot was fired, but they also don't believe there's enough evidence to show the officer acted recklessly. Our top national story this hour. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs expected to plead not guilty to all charges before a judge in New York City today, including new allegations.
Sean Combs is in court to plead not guilty to 2 new indictments. They do not add charges. He's still charged with racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution offenses. But the new indictments expand the scope, the timeline of Combs's allegedly criminal activity, add a couple of alleged victims who will likely testify at trial May 5th, and it added an allegation about forced labor. Prosecutors say Combs forced at least one of his household employees into sexual acts.
ABC's Aaron Katursky in New York reporting. U.S. stocks rebounding sharply after a rough week, with the Dow up by 605 points. That's 1.5%, sitting at 41,419. S&P 500 up by 100 points. The Nasdaq up nearly 2.5%, up 402 points. The weather, we're not done with the wet weather yet. Stay with us. We'll get an update of the forecast next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home, your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. We have Jared Auger in the KSL Traffic Center.
That's right. We've got emergency traffic right now. This is on I-15 northbound. We've got an accident, and it is blocking the 4 right lanes of northbound I-15 right at about 800 South, and the delays are stacking quickly all the way to the Spaghetti Bowl right there around 9th South. So if you're heading northbound and you need to jump off and you're going downtown Salt Lake, try to get off at 21st South or 13th South, get over to State Street in order to make that transition, or hop over to Redwood Road to go northbound. But again, you're going to want to jump off before you get to the Spaghetti Bowl. East and west belts are in great shape. No problems on I-80 through the Canyon. Davis County and Weber County, you're looking at good speeds on I-15 with no problems. And down in Utah County, no crashes or delays. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com. Affordable windows guaranteed. I'm Jared Auger in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's dry now, but we do have a 30% chance of showers later on this afternoon into this evening, increasing to 60% chance for your Saturday. Right now, 39 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
We have some breaking news, and we're going to begin this segment of Inside Sources with that breaking news. The president is about to speak, as we just talked about, Aaron Ryder and I, in the last segment, to speak to the Department of Justice about what he says is restoring law and order at the Department of Justice. Attorney General Pam Bondi has been speaking. She's introduced the president, and he's about to take the podium. So let's just break away to that. You might hear just the end of Hail to the Chief here, but it looks like he's quickly approaching the podium.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Pam, very much. What a job you're doing. And it's a true honor to be with you today. This is a storied hall, if there ever was one. And based on the crowd, I think we broke the all-time record. But as we begin a proud new chapter in the chronicles of American justice, this really is something. We're turning the page on 4 long years of corruption, weaponization, and surrender to violent criminals, and we're restoring fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And you're the people that are doing it. Very, very proud of all of you. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth. People ask me, what am I going to do about law enforcement all the time? The fake news back there, they're asking me that all the time. What am I going to do? And when are you going to do it? And I answer them by saying I've already done most of it by appointing the people that I've appointed. They're sitting right here. They've done most of it. I don't do it, they do it. Right, Pam? I think, oh, you are so tough, they just don't know yet. Let me begin by congratulating the incredible people who will lead these historic reforms. And we start with somebody that you just saw, Pam Bondi. She's extraordinary, and I've known her very well for a long time. I watched her for a long time in Florida, for years in Florida, and highly experienced. She seems so young, but she's highly experienced, that I can tell you. She was a phenomenal Attorney General in Florida, and she's going to do a really amazing job. Also, our new director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Kash, right. A man that I'm very proud of. I've known him and Emil for a long time under tremendous pressure. I saw these guys under some of the most corrupt judges it's not even imaginable how corrupt they were. And these guys never wilted. They were not shy. They fought. They weren't afraid, and they were brilliant. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Principal Associate Deputy Attorney Emil Beauvais, and thank you both very much. Right. Great people. They're great people. The Chief of Staff, who's so highly respected, Chad Mizell. Thank you, Chad. Chad? Thank you, Chad. Our next administrator of the DEA, Terry Cole. Terry? Thank you, Terry. Good luck. Going to do great. Senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Boy, I've been watching him on television last couple of weeks. He is really a tough one, and he's a great one. Leo Terrell, you watch how good he's going to be. He's going to be so good. Thank you, Leo. Great guy. Assistant Attorney General of the Antitrust Division, who's got an incredible reputation. She'll do very, very well. Gail Slater. Thank you, Gail. Good luck. Great job. Now, we're joined by many, many great friends and terrific friends, and I won't be able to, too many to name, but some that I just see very quickly. General Flynn, thank you for being here. Here's a man who went through hell, by the way, and he shouldn't have. He's a patriot. He went through hell. We're also pleased to be joined by Senator Chuck Grassley and House Majority Whip. Where's Chuck? Hi, Chuck. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Tom, great job you're doing. Representative Guy Reschenthaler, one of the toughest names to say, but I got it perfectly, I think. And State Attorney General Ken Paxton, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Somebody who was with us early on, and she's really become a big star and very popular, Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna. Thank you very much. Steve Marshall, Alan Wilson, James Othermeyer, Chris Carr, Dave Sunday, Marty Jackley, as well as White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. What a man Stephen is. Become a big star. Right, Emil? Steve Miller. Steve has been something very special. For generations, the Federal Department of Justice was one of America's most revered institutions. The men and women of the DOJ brought down the mafia, hunted down the killers, kingpins, and spies, tracked down terrorists and traitors, and tore down corrupt political machines all across America. This department commanded the respect and admiration of the entire world. And with Pam and Kash and all of the people I introduced and far more, big numbers, and all of you sitting back there, I recognize so many of you. But with you leading the way, it'll soon be the most admired and most respected of all. You're going to be more respected, and I really believe that there's also a lot of things to solve, a lot of problems to solve. But that's going to put you in the upper tier and maybe the top tier, and I believe that's going to happen. I'm so proud of the people in this room. But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations. They weaponized the vast powers of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to try and thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago, and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the President of the United States. With the help of radicals like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, and these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. So many others, but these are people that are bad people, really bad people. They tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won.
We've been listening to President Donald Trump speak at the Department of Justice. We need to break away for some emergency updates here in Utah, but we will be right back.
Emergency traffic here on KSL, and what we're going to do is we're going to take you right into the downtown stretch of I-15 northbound, where we had multiple vehicles in a nasty crash. This is taking up all of I-15 except for the HOV lane and the far left shoulder on northbound I-15 right at 800 South. And we're seeing these delays quickly stacking into the Mill Creek area about 3300 South. So if you're headed northbound on I-15 right now and you can dip off of I-15 at 33rd South or even at the South interchange, get on I-215's east or west belt to avoid these delays, that would be your best option. If you get to the 201 exit to head west towards Redwood Road, you're going to be in the thick of it. It's going to be heavy and slow all the way to 8th South. So again, this is emergency traffic. If you can avoid it, you're going to avoid it with the east or west belt, State Street, or Redwood Road. I'm Jared Auger on the KSL Traffic Center.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
And we're going to rejoin President Trump speaking kind of a rare political speech at the Department of Justice, which we broke away from just a minute ago.
From all over the world to come into our country while putting elderly Christians and pro-life activists on trial for singing hymns and for saying prayers. They went to jail for that. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back. So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people have given us a mandate like few people thought possible. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. We won districts, 2,750. Think of that, 2,750 districts compared to 505. So we won it at levels that have, I don't believe, ever seen before. That's the one where you see the map of the United States and it's all red. Red for Republican, not for communist. Red for Republican. They would like it to turn red for communist, but it didn't work out that way. The American people have given us a mandate and really a far-reaching investigation is what they are demanding into the corruption of our system. And that's exactly, I'm sure, what Pam and Cash and everyone else mentioned here and not mentioned is going to be doing. We will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our government. We will expose and very much expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, of which was levels you've never seen anything like it. It's going to be legendary. It's going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it out and bring justice. We will restore the scales of justice in America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country. And that's why on day one I signed an executive order banning all government censorship and directing the removal of every bureaucrat who conspired to attack free speech and many other things and values in America. My administration stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. We revoked the clearances of deranged Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James and the crooked law firms that aided their partisan persecutions. And I went through it. These are state and city courts, and the corruption is unbelievable. We also terminated the clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent, and therefore let's not find him guilty, I guess. Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it. I think I would have rather been found guilty than what they found with him. They said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he's let him go. I said, you know, I'd rather be convicted, Pam, I think, than that. That was not good. I said, please convict me, don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed the senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages. And it was a great honor for me to fire, I will tell you this, a great honor to fire James Comey. A great, great honor. That was nothing. There was no better day. A lot of people said, oh, that's too bad you did that. And they said that's going to be, and you know what? A year later, they said that actually saved the administration, because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things, and persecuted people, and all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C., and back on the streets in pursuit of dangerous criminals where they belong and where they want to be. And, you know, you have that big FBI building, and it's a very big building, and they were going to build an FBI headquarters 3 hours away in Maryland, a liberal state, but that has no bearing on what I'm about to say, but we're going to stop it. Not going to let that happen. We're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place, because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. You can't that's one thing I did learn from this persecution. The FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away? But one thing I said to Cash, well, we're going to get a great building built. It's going to be a magnificent building. He said, sir, we don't need that kind of room. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take a old Department of Commerce building that's about 25% the size, and that's what I need. We're going to have the best staff that you've ever seen, and that's what I need. It's in a nice location, but I don't need that big building. Why don't you just sell the site to somebody, and we're going to be very happy. And they want to have far fewer people, but we also want to have them in D.C., and if for no other reason, we like having law enforcement walking the streets of our capital, because when the bad guys are out there and they see there's an FBI agent, that's the ultimate in law enforcement, and they're not going to be acting so bad. We're cleaning up our city. We're cleaning up this great capital, and we're not going to have crime, and we're not going to stand for crime, and we're going to take the graffiti down, and we're already taking the tents down, and we're working with the administration, and if the administration can't do the job, we're going to have to take it back and run it through the federal government. But we hope the administration is going to be able. So far, they've been doing very
We have been listening to President Trump speak at the Department of Justice. We are continuing listening to his speech here, so stick with us as we go, but just wanted to make sure that we all knew what we were listening to here. President Trump at the Department of Justice.
That can be the talk of the world when Prime Minister Modi of India, when the President of France, and all of these people, the head of Prime Minister of United Kingdom, they all came to see me over the last week and a half. And when they come in, I had the route run. I didn't want to have them see tents. I didn't want to have them see graffiti. I didn't want to have them see broken barriers and potholes in the roads, and we had it looking beautiful. And we're going to do that for the city. And we're going to have a crime-free capital. When people come here, they're not going to be mugged or shot or raped. They're going to have a crime-free capital again. It's going to be cleaner and better and safer than it ever was, and it's not going to take us too long. There's a new phenomena that is taking place with these violent, vicious lawyers that we have all over. They play the ref. You know what playing the ref is? Like the great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He'd scream and scream at the ref. He'd scream. I watched it. By the way, I love Bobby Knight because he endorsed me. And having Bobby Knight's endorsement in Indiana was an extremely good thing. A friend of mine said I was running in Indiana at the time. This was early on, 2016. And I was doing great. But a friend came up and said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said, "No, I don't, but I hear he was a tough cookie." He said, not only tough, he was beyond tough, but he's the most popular guy you can imagine. It turned out he wanted to endorse me. He called me about 2 years before. He said, "Sir, I'd like to endorse you." I said, "Is this really Bobby Knight?" I said, "It's me." I could tell it was Bobby Knight. He had been known for throwing the chair across the court and slapping a player. Can't do things like that, right? And the man that came in fired him. He was a new administrator for the college. That guy didn't last very long. They were like 14-0, and they fired Coach Knight. That was not good, but he had a little chip in his shoulder. But he loved Trump, and he came in, and he said, "I'd love to endorse you." He said, "If you ever run, please call me." So he said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said, "Well, I don't know him, but he called me a couple of years ago." It was an amazing phenomenon. I took his number, and on each side of my desk in New York, I had stacks of paper, like nice and neat, but about 2 feet high each. And I said, I wrote his number down and I put it here 2 years ago. And I said, let me see if I can find it. It was almost like a miracle. I had other miracles that happened too. My ear is still throbbing. That was a miracle. That was a miracle also, wasn't it? That was a miracle also. Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you. Thank you, my man. That was a miracle. Anyway, okay, that's very nice. Thank you. But so he said, Bobby Knight. So I said, I put his name down and I wrote it down. It's in one of these stacks. I lifted it up. There would have to be 2,000-3,000 pages in each stack. I lifted it up, the first one, had no idea. And there was his name on a little card, Bobby Knight with his number. It was like incredible. I tell that story all the time. And I called him and dialed a number. He said, "I've been waiting for you to call." And he went out and he made a speech for me in a packed arena in Indiana, and it was over. It was over. He was a tough guy. He actually went a little far, if you remember, he made a great
We've been
speech.
listening to President Trump speaking to the Department of Justice. We're going to just finish out till the top of the hour here and talk about this for a second. Greg, I have just been struck listening to this that this is personal for him.
Oh,
that's
my
why he's
word.
here, right?
Yeah,
this is personal.
It's embarrassing to me as a lawyer and a former prosecutor to hear some of the personal attacks that he's making on individuals, saying people's names, talking about individual corruption. I can't imagine a president in my lifetime calling out individuals, and especially people who served the government, who served in high capacities, including the former President Biden, and making these kind of comments. To me, Aaron, this is something that's been seething in Donald Trump for 4 years, and he's finally got an opportunity, as he has with so many of the other things that he's done, to just say what's on his mind and just hurt people. I'll just say it. This is awful. I think it's an embarrassment to the country that our leader is doing this. But he's got his audience, he's got his Department of Justice, he's put his people in place, and he's talking about what he intends to do, which is entirely what he said he wouldn't do, which is weaponizing the Department of Justice. That's what he's talking about doing. Let's face it.
Yeah.
You may disagree.
Well, I don't know that I disagree. Look, Trump is not known for decorum. Trump is not known for, Trump's presidential air is very different than pretty much any other president we probably have ever had. And I think that's why a lot of people voted for him. But, it does, I don't know. If you're him and you feel like the entire government went after your family and then wrongfully in your mind.
So do it the right way. Just get people in. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
because I love you. But he's he's taking personal shots.
Yeah.
He's making it clear that he's coming after people. And it's not foreign government corruption or criminals that are bringing guns and drugs into our neighborhoods. It's former political people that were working for the Department of Justice, working for the FBI, working for the executive branch that he wants to go after. And if that's the focus of our Department of Justice for the next 2 years, we're in serious trouble because we have a lot of other crises in this country right now that are far more important than the Biden crime family. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I thought that this was going to be about immigration, and it's not. It's personal. Well, coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, we're going to talk about some local stories, including new controversy over the future of Sundance due to a bill that banned pride flags in public buildings, plus more about Canada. All of that in the second hour on Inside Sources.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story. 2 women were hit while crossing the street on South Temple at 3rd East. Salt Lake Police Detective Dalton Beebe says a driver failed to yield to the women at 7 o'clock last night. He says both women sustained serious injuries. One of them is critical, but both are expected to survive. None of the names of those involved have been released. The driver was given a citation. Our top national story from ABC News. Democrats in Congress do not appear to be on the same page about how to handle the continuing resolution that would avoid a shutdown of the government at midnight tonight. Key votes in the Senate to advance the bill are expected this afternoon.
The move by Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer to facilitate passage of the bill has been met with fury by progressive activists online. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries held a press conference at the Capitol to underscore his opposition to the measure, even if its failure would mean a shutdown.
We've made that decision as House Democrats, and we're going to stick by that decision.
Jeffries was asked if it's time for new Democratic leadership in the Senate.
Next question.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
A big rebound on the stock market. The Dow ending the day up 605 points, sitting at 41,419. S&P up by 100 points. The NASDAQ up by 402. More wet weather headed our way. We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
When it comes to great deals on tax prep, Jackson Hewitt isn't holding back, and neither is this commercial. Their offer is so big, it has to be said with Reverb. Expert tax prep for $149 or less. It's a deal so spectacular, it needs a symphony. Some explosions and a clock ticking, because this offer $149 or less ends soon. One expert tax prep for $149 or less. Try Jackson Hewitt today and save. Whew. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event.
You might as well call it A to free.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served, or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Tay-Tay was a typical girl that loved pink, singing, and all kinds of animals.
At 3 years old, she tumbled off a horse and received a traumatic brain injury. Her family prayed for a miracle, and when they realized their daughter would not survive, they made the decision to donate her organs. Because of her donation, 4 other people received her organs and tissue, allowing others to live. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old and not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save a life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you please donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is pretty easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope, heal life. DonorConnect.life.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Our emergency traffic coverage continues with Jared Auger.
That's right, Maria. Now, we're going to take you to I-15 northbound, right at about 800 south, where we had this earlier crash. Emergency crews do have it in the cleanup stage. It's still taking up the right 2 lanes, so traffic is getting by. But if you're in it, you know about it. It's backing up all the way to almost 4,500 south. So to avoid these delays, if you can, northbounders on I-15, jump off at the south interchange on I-215, hit that east or west belt, get off, use Redwood Road or State Street to travel north between 40th South and the downtown stretch. Other than that, we're looking at good speeds on I-80 out west, I-80 through the canyon. No problems up in Davis and Weber County. Down in Utah County, we did have an earlier crash in Provo, but that is cleaned up and out of the way. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. I'm Jared Auger in the KSL Traffic Center.
Chance of showers increasing through this evening, a 30% chance. Tomorrow, though, 60% chance of showers for your Saturday and a high of only 46 degrees. Right now, mostly cloudy, 39 downtown. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
A new wrench in plans to keep Sundance in Utah. Reports now say the film festival could leave the state due to passage of House Bill 77, which changes which flags can be displayed on government property. It's drawing conflicting messages from state lawmakers who have allocated millions of dollars to try and keep the festival in Utah. Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources alongside Aaron Ryder. I'm Greg Skordas. And first of all, Aaron, talk to our listeners a little bit about what House Bill 77 did in terms of changing flags. I mean, what we could and couldn't display.
Yeah, all it does is it puts parameters around what kinds of flags can be displayed on government property.
And what can't. Right.
Yes.
So political, like state flags, city flags, that kind of thing were fine. But if it had a political message, I think the idea was keep those off the schools.
Yeah, and so the reason why this has become an issue is because there's been a lot of pushback from the LGBTQ community saying, that LGBTQ pride flags are included in this ban and cannot be displayed on government property. So, and what it's doing is it's putting some interesting, what I think is interesting about this is how businesses and how organizations are responding to that bill, right? And so this is where Sundance becomes interesting because there is now conflict. Utah has been working for a while to keep the Sundance Film Festival in Utah. Sundance, the organization, has been looking at potentially leaving the state. They've looked at bids and asked for bids from multiple cities. Utah is one of the finalists at this point, but it's still not a done deal that Sundance is going to stay here. And now we have an issue where Sundance, the organization, is saying, well, if this is not a conducive environment for, if you're going to push this bill, then maybe we take our business elsewhere.
Yeah, and if you recall, Aaron, the outdoor retailers did the same thing, 10 or 12 years ago in response to Utah's designation and sort of undesignation of some of the national parks and what they thought that Utah was doing, and they said, no, we don't want to be part of Utah. They came back. I mean, some of these groups that got mad at Utah, I think the NBA All-Star Game was upset at us one year.
Yeah, there were
and
discussions
they were going
about
to get
that.
away. I think the NCAA was having a tournament here, and they got upset. So, I don't know. Sundance has been good. I'm looking at, they claim that it brings $3.5 million into the budget each year. That's got to be something worthwhile. It brings a lot of people
that's how much the Utah legislature allocated in the budget.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, to entice Sundance to stay.
Oh, so it brings in much more than that. You're right. You're right. I'm reading that wrong. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's. I can't remember there not being a Sundance. I mean, certainly it hasn't been around as long as I have, but I used to work on the ski patrol at Park City, and I worked up there for 30 years. And we always had Sundance. I mean, it was like January, February, I forget when it is, but we always knew when Sundance was coming. It changed the whole complexion of the city and the resort, and people, we had stars up there all the time, and people up there on the mountain, Deer Valley, Park City, the canyons. It was really an exciting time. And the films that it's brought to the state are epic. I mean, we still look at some films that were brought during Sundance and some of those times and think, it brought a lot of filmmakers that we don't really see the big companies bringing their films in and just, showing off their talents.
Yeah. And again, that's why this is interesting. Sundance, if Sundance leaves, what impact does that have? I know that in my race for county mayor, this was something that was discussed a little bit, even discussions about the downtown redevelopment zone right there with Abravanel Hall and the Delta Center and all of that. There's discussion about even having some of that area or, bringing Sundance into Salt Lake City. And that was part of the push to say, hey, we're revitalizing downtown Salt Lake. We're doing all of these things to incentivize and entice Sundance to stay. But it's not just Sundance. I mean, you mentioned a couple other things. Even Trader Joe's, we were talking about this before the show, had some reservations about coming into Utah because so much of their business is alcohol sales, and Utah does not allow grocery stores to sell alcohol. So Trader Joe's had, I think they're probably doing fine with the amount of sugar that Utahns consume. I don't see any issue with Trader Joe's revenue here, but it was an issue for them ahead of time. And now, I've even heard rumblings about the Olympics. What does this mean for the Olympics if this is an issue? This was kind of an issue when the Olympic Committee was looking at Utah in the first place. And
if Sundance is an issue, the Olympics is an astronomical issue. We can't lose that. And I'm glad you corrected me on the money thing, because last year alone, the Sundance Film Festival generated $132 million in gross domestic product for Utah. It also created 1,730 local jobs, $69.7 million in Utah wages, $13.8 million in state and local tax revenue. I mean, according to the 2024 Economic Impact Report, that's something we don't want to lose.
Yeah. And so this is, again, you've got some state and local leaders who are really pushing to keep Sundance here because of the economic benefits. But yet you have others who are saying, fine, if they want to leave, let them leave. One of our senators even posted on X and said Sundance doesn't fit in Utah anymore. Bye. See ya. We don't care.
Boy, but it does. I mean, it's called Sundance for a reason. There's not a Sundance, Colorado, or I see Cincinnati wants to jump in. What are they going to call it? I mean, you know what I mean? It's a huge part of what we do here in Utah, and it started small. It started with Sundance and Robert Redford and brought these films in. It's become bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's an international phenomena. I mean, the money that it brings in, we just can't walk away from that.
But let me push back.
Can.
Let me push back on that a little bit. Sundance has also changed quite a bit from the time that it first came, that Robert Redford first started it, right?
Sure.
It's quite a bit different. I mean, my mom was a film student for a while in college. She used to go up to Sundance, and she used to go and watch all those films. The films today that they're showing, they keep pushing the envelope, right? They keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And what happens if leaders of the community decide, you know what, that doesn't align with our values anymore.
You mean
And-
that some of the films aren't as family friendly as they've been in the past?
Which is essentially what the argument is, right? Sundance has changed. The themes that are promoted in those movies are not actually conducive to the environment that we want here in Utah. So fine, if Sundance has to leave, go somewhere else. We're going to be just fine on our own. I don't know. I mean, is there a point where it's reasonable for elected officials to think that? And what happens if you have elected officials who feel conflicted and who have different opinions on
Yeah,
that?
and I think, I understand that balance, Aaron, and you make a lot of sense. I think Utah is seen as a religious state, as a conservative state, and the film festival has drifted from that a little bit. But I think that's I think I agree. That's the beauty of it, that we can still invite these ideas, because it's not like we're, and maybe we are promoting them, but it's not like they're becoming part of our genre here. It's a film festival. It's an idea, a way to bring ideas and sort of these great creations into our state. I mean, maybe we're both saying the same thing.
Well,
you can understand. Yeah. You can understand. Keeping the spirit of Utah the way it is, and maybe not getting into some of the deep holes that some of these movies are going into these days.
Well, especially when we're looking at someone like Kevin Costner, who's going to bring his own, I mean, he's basically setting up his own studio in a sense down in southern Utah, and he wants to bring projects here to the state in another way. I don't know. I mean, maybe, somewhere we have to draw a line in the sand, and it's interesting that this is one that's now creating conflict between elected officials, even creating conflict within the budget, the state's own budget, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of money to make up.
Yeah.
$135 million.
Yeah.
When we come back on Inside Sources, let's go back to the Department of Education and take a look at some new lawsuits and investigations, including something dealing with our own University of Utah. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Amanda Dixon here, and I am broadcasting live from the NPS store in Salt Lake City, where I save 20 to 70% off on everything. So today, I was just wandering through the store thinking, what do I need today? And my kids have been bugging me about my mom jeans. My jeans are too old. They're very mom jeans. So I found a baggy pair of jeans, which I guess is the cool thing now, and they're 50% off. So I don't mind getting a new pair of jeans if they're 50% off. And then I walked through the kitchen area for a while, and I found an air fryer that was marked way down. And I even thought about getting one of those fancy coffee machines too, because it's just so inexpensive here. The reason that they can do this is that they buy overstock. Unclaimed shipments that are refused for whatever reason. And then they look up the price, and then they mark it down 20 to 70%. So everybody saves. It's just a great deal for everyone, whether it's clothes or school supplies or toys or kitchen or groceries. I mean, I haven't even made it over to the grocery section yet, and I know there'll be plenty to stock up on, but this is true at all NPS stores. There are 4. One in Orem at 475 North State Street. There's one in Layton at 1150 North Main Street. And here where I am, come and see me at the Salt Lake NPS store, 1600 South Empire Road.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh. Did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Over 3/4 of Americans will experience foot pain, and most will just live with that pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to change that. Here's Amanda from Provo.
I am an active woman, ex-Division I basketball player at BYU. By trade, I'm a PE teacher. Over the last 2 years is when my feet really started hurting.
And that's when Amanda's life changed with a visit to Foot Solutions in Orem.
My experience at Foot Solutions was so unique to any other experience I've had. Over an hour they spent with me, really going over my specific pain points.
After discovering so many solutions and custom in-house made orthotics, what does Amanda want you to know?
Invest in your health. Don't be cheap to your feet. Living a pain-free, active life again has been worth every cent.
Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
I'm Amanda from Provo. I'm 47 years old, and Foot Solutions has given me back a pain-free, active lifestyle.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
More developments involving education today. More than 20 attorneys general are suing to block the firing of roughly 50% of the Department of Education, all while the Trump administration launches investigations into 45 universities accused of racial discrimination due to DEI policies, including the University of Utah. All right, we've got a lot to digest here,
I guess so.
Boy.
When you say 21, it says more than 20. There are actually 21 attorneys general. They're all from the same political party, as you might imagine.
Yeah, not a surprise.
They're all Democrats. So these are probably the Democratic attorneys general for the United States. 21. There may be one or two more. But they've filed this lawsuit against the Trump administration to block the dismantling of the Department of Education and saying that it incapacitates the department's ability to complete its legally required functions. In other words, they're saying Congress set this up. The administration can tweak it, but at its core, it has a function, and what you've done is effectively done away with that function. You don't have the authority to do that.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a second, because I think this is interesting. Before we get into this conversation, I want to listen to a sound clip really quickly from New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin, who's one of the plaintiffs, talking to ABC News about how it's illegal to abolish the Department of Education.
The president has broad powers, but he's not a king, and he cannot overnight end and just essentially dismantle a federal agency that's created by Congress. He has to go to Congress to do that. He does not have the power to do it himself.
Okay, let's have...
He said better what I just said, but he made it a little more clear.
Well, Greg, you and I are both attorneys. Just constitutionally, I want to get your opinion on this. how does this work, right? I don't know that we've really ever seen anything quite like what Trump is trying to do in office with cutting departments, closing things down, firing federal workforce, et cetera, et cetera. And there's all this pushback that's happening, right? Judges are chiming in on this, all sorts of things. And Congress is mysteriously absent from the entire conversation.
Unbelievably so, yes.
Can Trump do this? Is it constitutional? I mean, what do you think,
Well, if you harken back, and this also deals with the same Department of Education, when Biden jumped in and said, we're going to forgive student loans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He made an executive order to a department that's under his branch, but that's funded and was created by Congress, and said, we're going to forgive millions and what ended up being billions of dollars in student loans. And he got flipped over.
And the court said no.
And the court said no. And I think this is very similar. So Trump's coming in. He's not just getting rid of the student loan. He's not, the student loan forgiveness program. We're starting the student loan forgiveness program. He's doing away with the Department of Education, which, by the way, monitors student loans, or they oversee that. That's one of their functions. So he's doing away with most of their functions. Now, he said this won't affect grants and student loans and Pell Grants and things like that.
Yeah, I think they would just shift it into other places.
Shift it to somewhere else.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's interesting to see. But Biden's was just a piece of the puzzle. Trump's throwing half of it out, or maybe more.
Well, and, again, from a constitutional perspective, this is really interesting stuff, because I would love to be in a constitutional law class right now, right? It would be a fascinating time to be in a constitutional law class. I'm sure that my con law professor is probably having a fit trying to keep up with everything that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Here. But the way this is supposed to work, Congress has power of the purse. They have power over the money, and they decide what needs to happen from a legislative perspective. The executive's job is to execute.
Sure.
I mean, that's the point, right? You execute on what Congress has done. But a lot of that lawmaking authority really and truly lies with Congress, and they have delegated a lot of it over to the executive branch over the years. But if you want to just wholeheartedly cut out things that Congress has already allocated money for, is that anti-constitutional? Does that cut against the Constitution? Or do you have the ability to do it because Congress has allocated the resources, but your job as the executive is to decide what to do with it?
Right. And the attorneys general, in their argument, just to kind of go with what you're saying, Aaron, they allege that the 20 states and the District of Columbia who brought the case would suffer irreparable harm from the dismantling of the department, arguing that the federal government is, quote, deeply entwined with their education systems through funding for low-income children, support for students with disabilities, federal student aid, which we talked about, and laws that prevent discrimination in education. So they're saying, no, you can't do that because Congress set this up to handle all these important functions, and these are critical government functions that Congress has created,
and the states now rely on.
And the state, we've come to rely on it. I think the Department of Education's been around for 40 or 50 years.
I think it was Andrew Johnson, President Andrew Johnson, that first set it up. It's been around for a long time.
Well, it's much longer than I knew. But I mean, this is again one of these. We call it a constitutional crisis we're in our country. I don't know that that's the right word, but we're certainly dealing with a lot of constitutional issues, and the separation of powers is not the least of those. And it seems like Congress, especially because they are currently controlled by the Republicans, are letting him do this more than I would have expected. And I know that there's this notion he's been in office for 45 days, less than 2 months, and some people are saying let him do what he promised to do. We can sort it out later. He was elected for a reason, and it's not like this came out of the blue. He's been talking about the Department of Education before he was elected. So I think there are certain members of Congress and maybe the populace of the United States that voted for him that are saying, before you just start throwing out everything he's doing, let's see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy. And you would think that he would have at least gone to Congress. They're his friends right now, and said, "Help me with this. Let's do this jointly."
Yeah, but Congress can't even pass a continuing resolution.
I know they don't even know they're going to be around in
just to keep things stable.
10 hours, right? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other side of this that we wanted to mention is that there's just so much going on with education right now, because in addition to all of this, you have now more than 50 universities who are being investigated for alleged racial discrimination as part of Trump's mission, really, to end DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So now we've got a bunch of universities who are in the firing, in the crosshairs here. And the argument is, you have not gotten rid of your DEI policies. Your DEI policies unfairly discriminate. It's reverse discrimination.
Right. You unfairly discriminate against white and Asian American students.
Right.
That's the racial discrimination they're talking about, which is
now we're
something we haven't talked about before. Right.
Yeah, and now we're coming after you. And the University of Utah is one of those universities.
Who's on the list? Yeah.
Yeah, the University of Utah is one of them. And what does that look like if you now have the federal government who's coming after universities to push to get rid of DEI programs? And these are all, for the most part, I think, let's see, looking at this list, I think almost all of these, not all of them. I see Georgetown on here. Georgetown is one of my alma maters. That's a private university, but most of them
state universities,
are state universities, right? Because I'm looking at the difference between private and state.
Yeah, interesting. So I think when it comes down to it, Aaron, we're talking about money. And the federal government saying, if you're not in line, we may have to pull back on some of your grants and some of your funding that we've got going in at your university. So get in line. And they're facing investigation to the University of Utah. I mean, you can't afford to lose federal money even if you're a private university.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? I mean, I guess you get in line and you do what they say. And the University of Utah is on the chopping block right now. I imagine the administration up there is looking pretty hard at trying to fix this.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm just thinking about my time at Georgetown, though. I did BYU for undergrad. BYU is not on this list, it looks like, but Georgetown was where I went for graduate school, and it is on the list. And boy, in some of these schools, DEI is just embedded in that culture. It's embedded in everything that they do. And now, if you have the federal government coming after you, I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah.
All right, next on Inside Sources, how do Utahns feel about our two senators, John Curtis and Mike Lee? We are going to discuss some new data giving insights into all of this after the break.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top local story. A police officer who shot an unarmed man who was hiding in tall grass during a June police pursuit will not face criminal charges. Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill says Salt Lake City police officer Mitchell Bailey was one of the officers who was looking for the suspect behind a stolen vehicle. He raised his gun and shot into the grass, hitting the suspect's hand.
It is reasonable to conclude that when the shot was fired, Officer Bailey could not see into the thick grass where Mr. Castor was laying and on the ground and hiding.
But Gill says they do not believe that there is enough evidence to call the actions of Bailey reckless, which is what would be needed for a conviction. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Before leaving Washington for Mar-a-Lago today, President Trump delivered a speech at the Justice Department. The president saying the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth.
I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people have given us a mandate like few people thought possible.
The crowd was mostly Trump appointees, White House officials, Republican state attorneys general, and local law enforcement. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow ending the day up 605 points, sitting at 41,419. S&P up by 102, and the NASDAQ up by 402 points. Bit of sunshine right now, but wet weather is headed our way. We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
It doesn't matter if your only neighbors are wildlife or just wild in general.
I would propose that amendment.
If you work from home or work is technically at home, every homeowner can save money by getting a ThermWise home energy plan from Enbridge Gas. Discover ways to make your home more energy efficient and apply for rebates if you purchase any energy-efficient appliances. Schedule a home energy plan from Enbridge Gas at thermwise.com.
Amanda Dixon broadcasting live from the NPS store in Salt Lake City. I just love when I find a deal. There's something just addicting about finding a deal. So I found some shoes on sale. All the shoes are 25% off. Now remember, this is 25% off the already marked down price. So when NPS buys overstock or refused shipments from people all over the place, they buy truckloads filled with merchandise. They look up what the price is. They mark it down 20 to 70%. That's what happens initially. And then if they get a whole bunch of something, they mark it down even more. So right now, the shoes are an additional 25% off. Bags and luggage, an additional 25% off. Furniture is an additional 50% off. Mattresses, the same. Bedding and linens. Do you need new sheets? Don't think that I can't afford to buy new. Come down and save 50% off the already low prices. And clothing, like those jeans I found, were 50% off the already marked down low price. So now I'm going to go over and do some grocery shopping because, after all, my kids got to eat. But this is how you can save at any of the NPS stores. There are 4 NPS stores. A beautiful store in Layton at 1150 North Main Street, one in Orem at 475 North State Street, and here where I am in Salt Lake, it's 1600 South Empire Road.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's Business Solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Take advantage of Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric's $99 or it's free mainline drain clearing special. That's right, $99 or it's free. Feel secure knowing the trusted professionals at Yes guarantee that if we can't clear it, you don't pay for it. Whether it's a small clog or a larger mainline sewer drain issue, the experienced technicians at Yes are ready to solve all of your drain problems. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. And here's Jared Auger.
Well, the clog we had on the pipe known as I-15, that's gone downtown Salt Lake City northbound right there at 8 South. You're going to have a couple of UHP troopers still on the right shoulder, but the delays have dispersed. Thank goodness, because that Friday afternoon commute is about to be on us. Here, as you're going through Murray, southbound into Sandy, into Draper, looking at good speeds, no crashes. Utah County drivers also on I-15, you're going to see good speeds with no crashes. Pioneer Crossing, though, starting to get a little bit busy on and off of I-15, then taking you north up in Davis and Weber County. No problems up there. A little bit of heavy traffic as you go from Riverdale into Roy, but that is the new normal. Now, teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. You can learn more at cypresscu.com/teen. I'm Jared Auger in the KSL Traffic Center.
We do have a 30% chance of showers across the Wasatch Front into this evening, increasing to 60% chance overnight. Tomorrow's high only 46 degrees. Right now, mostly cloudy, 37 degrees. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
How do voters feel about Utah's Senators Mike Lee and John Curtis? New polling from our partners at the Deseret News show that for the most part, Utahns are pretty happy with their senatorial choices. Let's dig into this data, first starting with Senator Mike Lee. Aaron, surprises with these polling numbers?
No, not really.
I mean, we've got a plurality of voters that support Mike Lee. That is 46% find him favorable compared to 33% who find him unfavorable. And by favorable, I mean very favorable at 16% and favorable at 30%. So, yeah, 46% find him favorable. You'd think that means generally he's not favorable. But if you look at the unfavorable number, it's 33%. So, yeah, those numbers have to be pretty good. It's odd that 8% of Utahns have never heard of him.
What I think is more odd is that 13% have no opinion.
Because he's somebody you have opinion about.
He is.
I mean,
He
he's
is
somebody
someone
that
you have an
everybody
opinion
has an
about.
opinion about. But generally, pretty good numbers. As you might expect, he does really well with Republicans. A majority of those supported him. 65% thought he was favorable, as opposed to just 20% of Democrats. I don't know who those people were, but 20% of Democrats liked him. On the other hand, the people that disapproved of him, Democrats 61% versus 17% for Republicans.
Yeah, not at all surprised about that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about our other senator, John Curtis. Surprising numbers for him, because to me, I think of him as pretty popular and pretty well liked. I know he's new and maybe he's pushing the envelope a little bit with some of his Republican colleagues, and I know he didn't, as you know, come out of the convention. I mean, I think
I think that's really what's accounting for some of these numbers. Because as a member of the House, I think John Curtis had pretty good popularity. It's one of the reasons he ran for the Senate was because he was well liked in the House.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't make it out of convention, he fared that better than I think Governor Cox did. Governor Cox really took a big hit for that. Even though he still won, I think John Curtis fared better with it. But I do think it hurt him with Republicans who now some of them may now not see him as not quite as Republican as they once thought, right?
And when Mike Lee's approval rating was at 46%, John Curtis's is just 39%. Not as good. But his unfavorable rating is better than Mike Lee's. Because, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but so Mike Lee has 33% unfavorable. John Curtis is just 32%. I mean, it's only 1% different. Yeah. So what the difference here is people just don't seem to know Curtis as well. I mean, 39% like, 32% dislike. That leaves a lot of voters. And so you've got 16% who say they've never heard of Curtis, 21% who don't have an opinion of him yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, that doesn't really surprised me a ton because John Curtis is our newest senator. He's coming from the House side. And even though he'd been a member of the House, if you weren't in the 3rd District, you probably had no idea who he was. And I mean, most people that I know have no idea who their congressional representative is anyway, right? And so now he's in the Senate. The Senate is in many ways much more visible. But he's still new. He's only been there for a couple months. He's still sort of making his mark, getting into his rhythm as a member of the Senate. And we've also seen him speak out on some things against President Trump, or at least voice some concerns about some things that President Trump is doing. I wonder if that also has an influence where Senator Lee has been very supportive of President Trump from the get-go. You know, Trump can almost do no wrong when it comes to Senator Lee. Curtis is more willing to at least push on the narrative a little bit. And maybe with Republicans, that doesn't sit as well with Curtis where, it does with Mike Lee.
Right. We're talking about a poll that was conducted February 14th and 15th by Harris X among 805 registered Utah voters and has a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1 percentage points. There was something we talked about with Lee that's lacking in the report that I'm seeing on Curtis, and that is how Curtis did with Republicans and Democrats, because Lee does very well with Republicans, 65%, not very well with Democrats, 20%. My guess is that Curtis's numbers would have been not as good with Republicans, but better with Democrats than Lee.
Yeah,
we don't know that because it wasn't broken down, and people are unfavorable to Lee. 61% of Democrats. I don't think that Curtis would have been anywhere near that number. I think people like Curtis.
Let me ask you this question: Curtis is taking over for Mitt Romney's seat in the Senate.
Right.
Do you think that has any influence on this, where people are looking at Curtis as a Romney successor, even though? I don't know that that's necessarily a fair statement, right? John Curtis is certainly his own person. He's been in the House already. He's already got kind of, he knows Washington. He's not a brand new guy, right? But do you think people still see him as Romney's successor, and does that have an influence? I mean, we're guessing here, we're speculating.
Yeah, I think not necessarily because of the Romney successor, but if you recall, Curtis was a Democratic He was a Democrat once. He was the
long time ago.
long time ago. He was the
Yeah.
mayor of Provo or something like that. He's been seen as pretty moderate, even after he was elected. And we were talking about some of the cabinet positions, and he was talking a little bit about things that made you think he wasn't lockstep with Trump. And so I think some Republicans are thinking, is he going to break rank? Of course, he didn't, but he's been his own person. He certainly has been, and maybe that's. So to answer your question, I just said no, but now I've just said yes. He is a little bit more Romney-like than Mike Lee-like.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair in some ways. I mean, Curtis, again, Curtis had the benefit of being his own person before he went into the Senate. Mike Lee was new to political office. He had worked for Governor Huntsman, so he wasn't new to politics, but, he had stepped into the Senate. He had not been in the House beforehand and started out fresh and was replacing Bob Bennett. And, that in some ways that was a convention coup, right? He overtook Bob Bennett in convention and was a surprise victory in that seat. Whereas on the Curtis side, you've got Orrin Hatch, succeeded by Mitt Romney, now succeeded by John Curtis. I don't know. I just wonder if some of that maybe plays a little bit of a role into it, where I think that Senator Curtis is trying to find his own path forward here and trying to establish himself as his own person. But he also has this legacy of these senators where, Senator Lee has been there for several years now.
Yeah, we've only got about a minute left, Aaron, but you ran alongside Curtis. I mean, you were running on the same period of time, both in Republican primaries, both at the Republican general election, or at least through the conventions. How was he received by Republicans when you'd go out to these conventions?
I mean, I was running in Salt Lake County, and here in Salt Lake County, for the most part, he was well received. I know in the 3rd District, he was well liked in the 3rd District, and that was actually really interesting because you saw candidates who were running to replace him in the 3rd District who were trying to make themselves look like John Curtis' successors. So talking about that, right? They wanted to look like John Curtis in many ways. So, but here in the county, certainly very well liked.
When we come back after the break, in our final segment of today's Inside Sources, a new prime minister in Canada as of today. Let's discuss how the new leader could affect our changing relationship with Canada and the United States. Stay with us.
A special announcement from Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Dave's Bernina has incredible deals on school machine buybacks, and they won't last long.
Buy a Bernina 1008 for $399, and the Bernina 350 is only $499. Save 50% and more with a 2-year guarantee and free classes on these previously loved machines.
It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina.
Save up to 20% off all new Bernina machines.
Take advantage of 20% off Bernina and Burnett presser feet.
1.99% 48-month financing.
The Bernina 735 is discounted and includes thousands of dollars of free accessories while supplies last. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Specially priced and receive over $2,000 worth of free Bernina accessories.
In business since 1960. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Dave'sBernina.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. Amanda Dixon here, broadcasting live from the NPS store in Salt Lake City. And my friend Steve is here. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Amanda.
Now, you told me a week from today something exciting is happening.
We got some exciting news for you. We're going to have our grand opening of our new improved garden center.
Oh, wow, the garden center. I saw that it looked like some work was being done out there. So you're prepping it to get it ready for all the plants.
Yes.
Now, you sell it. What all do you sell in the garden center?
We sell mulch, we sell trees, we sell all your soils, all your fertilizers. Everything you'll need for your garden is going to be out there at super great prices that you expect from NPS.
So 20 to 70% off everything every day, and that applies to the garden center?
Well, there's going to be amazing prices out there.
Oh, wow.
And it's just going to be a huge deal out there. You're going to love it.
My husband got a tree there last year that's just doing great. I mean, I want to get some flowers this year. When do you, so it's a soft open next Friday. You start to get things in.
Going to be opened up at 10 o'clock on Friday. And it's going to look beautiful. We have products showing up all next week.
Because gardeners are itching to get out into the garden.
I'm telling you, it's beautiful.
Do you have garden centers at the other NPS stores?
We do have a few. It's a selection out
This is
there,
the big store for
but
garden.
they just go all out here. and we have made some super improvements for you to check it out.
I can't wait to see it, Steve. Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
The NPS Garden Center opens up a week from today, next Friday. There are 4 NPS stores, 2 here in Salt Lake at 1600 South Empire Road, 1 in Layton at 1150 North Main Street, and in Orem at 475 North State.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event.
You might as well call it A to free.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
If you go to the Canadian-U.S. border on I-5 north of Seattle, you'll come across the Peace Arch. I have to laugh for a second here because when our producer first typed this, he put Peach Arch, and that's what I thought it was. It is not. It is the Peace Arch.
That's in Georgia.
Arch.
Yeah.
That's in Georgia. Anyway, this monument, inscribed with the words, "May these gates never be closed," has been one of the defining characteristics between Canada and the United States, peace and allyship. But things are changing, Greg. Canadians have not been great fans of all that President Trump has been doing. I don't know that they love the idea of being our 51st state. And now we have a new prime minister who could affect this relationship even more. This morning, Canada swore in their newest prime minister, a former banker, Mark Carney. This is interesting. He has never been...
Not a politician.
He's not a politician.
Yeah.
And what I find, I mean, that was one of the things that Trump campaigned on, right? He was a business guy. He wasn't a politician. Mark Carney is taking over for Justin Trudeau in the Liberal Party. So this is not a conservative guy, but he's a business guy, was in charge of the Bank of England, I believe, for a long time, helped with Brexit and some of that stuff. And now he's Canada's new prime minister. So let's listen to a couple of clips of him. He's got a big task in front of him navigating the U.S.-Canada relationship right now. So let's listen to a short clip from his victory speech on Sunday night after he won.
He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't.
That was, of course, about President Trump. And then shortly after being sworn in as the newest Prime Minister of Canada, today he spoke to reporters and responded to questions about tariffs on the United States and Canada's economy as a whole.
When we get to the economics, and the president is a successful business person and deal maker, we're his largest client in so many industries. As the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Industry, Monsieur Leblanc and Monsieur Champagne, have made this point. And clients expect respect and working together in a proper commercial way. So the nature of Canada means we won't. The economics means we shouldn't. And what you will see from this government is focusing on building here at home, building with different partners abroad, and that will reinforce the point. It's good. We're doing it for our own reasons, to be clear, for our own people, for the high-paying jobs. But eventually, the truth will out, and the Americans will understand as well. Thank you.
Our allies, sir. Do you want to?
So I don't think we need. I don't think we need to hear it from. Nous sommes maîtres. We're masters in our home. We're in charge.
Okay, we're in charge. Whew, shots fired.
Yeah, you know, a couple of months ago, the Conservative Party in Canada was really overwhelming the policy there.
Yeah.
And in fact, Justin Trudeau really was stepping down, saying, "Look, I don't even have the support anymore." Ironically, Trump has given some life to the Liberals, and this new Prime Minister, Carney, who turned 60 on Sunday, replaces Trudeau. Now, he doesn't even hold a seat in Parliament, but his party controls only a minority of the seats in the House of Commons, which means he has no choice but to immediately call for a federal election, which will likely occur in May. But given what Trump is doing and the tariffs, it seems like Canada is rallying around him. It seems like he's got a lot of support, and people are saying, no, we don't want to. We're not going to be the 51st state. We're not going to bow down. We need somebody who's going to be strong, and he seems to be assuming that mantle pretty well.
Yeah, and the timing on this is interesting. He is a finance guy through and through. Worked for Goldman Sachs. He served as the governor of the Bank of Canada during the financial crisis of 2008. Then became the governor of the Bank of England. And he was the only foreigner to be hired for that job, actually, helped through the Brexit transition. And now he is leading Canada at a time when the U.S. is imposing tremendous tariffs on Canada. I think that timing also helps him significantly, right?
Yeah, and I think that Trump is underestimating the Canadian people, because I really believe this, Aaron. I think Trump's trying to squeeze them and put them at his mercy so much that this 51st state thing is really on his mind. I really do. And he's saying, we're going to cripple you. We're going to cut you. We're going to really take a hard hatchet to your economy. But boy, if you're the 51st state, and Carney, you'll be the governor.
It's amazing.
And
it's
you'll have
perfect.
But Canada wants nothing to do with that. I mean, and frankly, there's no chance that's going to happen, no matter what their economy looks like, no matter how down and out they become. And it's also hurting America because we get so many products. I mean, they're our largest trading partner, I think, by far. I mean, we do a lot with Canada. I mean, and obviously we are their largest trading partner.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this is going to, watching him, Justin Trudeau just did not handle this whole thing well. And it's one of the reasons why he stepped down. I mean, he has been struggling for a while, but Carney seems like a very different kind of leader. I mean, already, right? Even just in the short clips that we heard, he seems like a different kind of leader. So he may be part of the same party, and he is still going to have to face off against the Conservative candidate in a federal election. We'll see what that looks like. But boy, I mean, I don't know. Where does this go, right? This is what I find interesting, especially about the 51st state thing. Where does this realistically go? And where do these trade wars realistically go? Because, I've said this before, I'm all about balancing fairness and costs, etc. Canada has imposed a lot of high tariffs on the United States. We've talked about this in the past on the show. But tariffs and trade wars often are just a race to the bottom, don't you think?
Yeah, and Trump loves tariffs. I mean,
he does.
He loves them, and he talks about them all the time. And, it's a little bit disingenuous because, and again, I guess I'm just not happy with Trump today. Just listen to the whole DOJ thing. But he talks about Canada is this this supplier of fentanyl, and we've learned that they're really not. I mean, the amount of fentanyl coming in from Canada is abysmal compared to what we're getting from Mexico.
Sure.
And frankly, we don't have this crisis of illegal immigrants running across the Canadian border coming to the United States, and nobody would care if they did necessarily. You know, they're not sending us their criminals and their sex offenders and that type of thing. So the reason for the tariff didn't make a lot of sense. It makes a little more sense with Mexico, although Trump has backed off on Mexico more than he has with Canada. To me, the 51st state thing is still something that's on his mind. Canada, Greenland, you know, sort of taking over the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got all these great ideas. They're not going to go anywhere. It's hurting Americans. It's hurting Canadians. And I think Trump's betting on it's hurting Canadians more, and they have to come to the table on something. What that is, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah. I just wonder, you know, how long does this go? How long does this fight go? What does that do in the long run? And, you know, if Canada's charging us, you know, I think the last time I was on the show, we were talking about how it's like 200% on dairy products, things like that. That is problematic for me, and I would like to see a resettling of those amounts. But I just wonder where this goes. I wonder where this ends. And I don't know the answer to that.
I think the fear could very well be that Canada starts trading with China. That they start trading with other countries, and that they've even talked about joining the European Union. I mean, they've got to do something. They are a big trading partner with us. I said the biggest, maybe not. I don't know. China might be bigger. They're certainly up there, and one that you started this thing talking about the Peace Arch. It'll never be closed. Let's hope that that's true.
Yeah. Fun facts on this. Mark Carney had to pledge allegiance to King Charles III and was sworn in by Mary Simon, Canada's Governor General, who represents the King as the official head of state. She's the first Indigenous person to serve in that role, actually. All right. Well, thank you for joining Inside Sources today. Monday's Inside Sources is going to be with Taylor Morgan and Rusty Cannon. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News with Maria Shilaos. Have a great weekend.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.